This is Jeffrey Heyman, and this is me final project. I'm going to summarize the findings of my personal assessments and include reflections about what I learned in this course and how I can apply it personally and professionally. Uh, First, I want to go over this picture that I printed out of from the first week. Uh, I was actually a blue in this, so I was able to see from the stat generator that some of the qualities um, that hold true to me based on certain actions that I would take in certain situations. So just a couple that really stood out to me were looking for symbolism and valuing close relationships, and a third one is being adaptable. I went abroad in spring semester. I went to Spain. Found it very easy to adapt to the lifestyle and the culture there. So I really feel that the blue embodies me. So now I'm going to go into the 5 findings from personal assessments. The first one that I chose was facing problems head on will be better in the long run. So this is basically just you don't want to put off a problem, as we learned in this class. If you have something, you need to deal with it right away. Um, if there's a problem between you and someone else, there's ways of communicating, and someone might get upset, but it's better than just delaying it because it'll just make things worse and it'll just boil up inside of you, and it's just bad communication. The second finding for personal assessments that I chose was honesty and communication will uphold your reputation. This was very important to me because I was doing an internship this summer in wealth management where honesty and communication is everything and your reputation is everything in the wealth management industry, because you need to have that honesty and communication between yourself and your client. And if they ask you a question, you need to be able to answer it as honestly as possible, and you need to be able to be confidential with their assets that you know of. The third finding that I chose was think before speaking, so you're sure you're communicating what you want to be. This is basically just making sure you're saying exactly what you want to say and recognizing that other people may perceive what you're saying differently. So you really need to think about what you're saying, especially in a professional environment. My fourth finding from personal assessments was methods of communication vary depending on what you are communicating and to whom. So this was another important one that I took seriously during my internship, because if I'm contacting a client, I make sure that I use proper greetings every time, and it's a phone call or face to face. I'm never just texting them, for example, yo, what's good, like I would text one of my boys. But one of my friends, on the other hand, I can communicate with them over text or FaceTime and be very casual. The fifth finding from personal assessments is nonverbal communications are used everywhere, even when you don't notice. Even just when I'm making this video, verbal cues that you can pick up on me are evident of what I may be thinking, even though I'm not expressing it, just as an example. So now I'm going to go into 5 concepts that I learned. The first concept I want to talk about is the variety of constructive methods to respond to someone. So if someone says something that makes you upset or someone's going through a problem, there's different ways that you can constructively help that person or respond to them, rather than just getting mad and saying something like I talked about earlier. In one of my findings from personal assessments is thinking before you speak. So there's a variety of different constructive methods to respond. So thinking about the way that you want to respond before you respond is always the best option. Secondly, I'm going to talk about importance of proper communication, because through all the modules in this class, it's evident that you need to be able to properly communicate with someone, or they might not understand what you're saying, or they might take offense even to something that you're saying, because you perceive what you're saying differently from what another person might perceive. Another concept I learned is that different people have different perceptions of a situation. So basically, as I said in the past few concepts, if one thing happens, everyone can have a different perception of what just happened. Like, just as an example, this isn't really a communication example, but if you're at a football game and someone throws an interception, someone on one side of the field might have thought that, or a fumble, so someone on one side of the field might have thought that their team recovered it, and someone on the other side that had a different view of it might have thought something else happened. Just like that in communication, I could say something and someone might take offense to it, but I may not have meant it like that or perceived it like to communicate it in that manner. Um, the fourth concept I learned is methods to becoming a better and more active listener. So the method that I learned the most from in this course was the repeating method, where you repeat to them in your own words what they're saying, so that you and the person that's communicating with you are sure that you're both understanding what's being communicated. The fifth concept is nonverbal communication cues, which I touched on earlier. I wasn't very familiar with picking up on them, but now after taking the course, I definitely have a better grasp on them. Six strategies that I learned were to be cautious with what you post on social media, face problems directly and proactively. As I said earlier, you don't want to be putting things off on a back burner, because then it's just going to get the situation worse. Do not discriminate or stereotype, because you're just going to hurt other people and bring other people down, and that's not what we want to do in this world. Listen to other people's perspectives, and it will open you up to a whole other side of the world that you might not have even understood why someone thought like that. And then if you listen to why they think like that, it might help you in a different situation. Be mindful of nonverbal communication. I've hinted on this a few times earlier in the video. It's extremely important, and this class really emphasized that. And to be able to understand and identify your own emotions. Thank you so much. This is my final project.